The Trump administration threatened on Friday to withhold federal money from California if the state does not drop its requirement that private insurers cover abortions.
In an announcement on the morning of the March for Life, the high-profile annual anti-abortion rights demonstration, the Department of Health and Human Services said it would give California 30 days to commit to lifting the requirement. If the state does not do so, the administration said it will take steps to cut off money from one or more federal funding streams.
People should not be forced to participate, or pay for, or cover other people's abortions, said Roger Severino, director of the Office for Civil Rights at the Department of Health and Human Services.
The administration issued a notice of violation, declaring that California was not complying with the federal Weldon Amendment, which says that certain funds can be withheld if a state or local government discriminates against a health care entity for not providing or paying for abortions.
The announcement was intended as a warning shot to several other states that also require insurers to cover abortion, including New York, Oregon, Washington, Illinois and Maine.
"We're sending a message that if any state has done what California has done, they should expect to be found likewise in violation," Mr. Severino said.
The California governor, Gavin Newsom, said the state would not change the requirement.
Despite a federal opinion 4 years ago confirming California's compliance with the Weldon Amendment, the Trump administration would rather rile up its base to score cheap political points and risk access to care for millions than do what's right. Mr. Newsom, a Democrat, said in a statement, "California will continue to protect a woman's right to choose, and we won't back down from defending reproductive freedom for everybody, full stop."
The California's Attorney General, Xavier Becerra, tweeted, "We will fight this by any means necessary." In a briefing with reporters, administration officials would not say which funding streams might be cut off or how much money might be involved. Jocelyn Samuels, who served as director of the Office of Civil Rights for HHS from 2014 through the end of the Obama administration, said that billions of dollars could potentially be at stake. Ms. Samuels noted that the stark language of the Weldon Amendment says that none of the funds that Congress appropriates for the Departments of Health and Human Services, Education and Labor can be made available to a state that is found to have violated the amendment. If the Trump administration wanted to impose a narrower penalty, like withholding funding from a specific health care grant, that might have to be determined by a court, she said. If California is deprived of money because of its abortion coverage requirement, it would be the first time the federal government has withheld funding because of health care provider conscience laws, said Ms. Samuels, who is now the executive director of the Williams Institute at the University of California Los Angeles School of Law. This is all uncharted waters, Ms. Samuels said, adding that in 2016, the Obama administration evaluated the same California insurance requirement and determined that it did not violate the Weldon Amendment because only the health insurers ordered to provide abortion coverage had standing to object, and none of them had. Mr. Severino cited 2 religious organizations that had complained that they felt compelled to obtain insurance that included abortion coverage for their employees, the Skyline Wesleyan Church and the Missionary Guadalupanas of the Holy Spirit, Inc. The latter organization, a Catholic order of religious sisters, previously sued the state of California over the requirement, a lawsuit that was dismissed by an appeals court in August. "I don't know how this makes sense to anybody," Mr. Severino said. "Not only is it the wrong thing to do to force nuns to pay for abortion services for fellow nuns, it's against the law." President Trump, who once said he was very pro-choice, has worked to earn the support of anti-abortion groups with a series of actions, including preventing organizations that receive federal family planning money from referring patients for abortions and appointing judges to the Supreme Court who have a record of conservative rulings in abortion cases. Last year on the day of the March for Life, the Trump administration levied a similar accusation against California, saying it violated federal conscience protection amendments with a state law that required religiously oriented crisis pregnancy centers to inform women with unintended pregnancies about the option of abortion. But that federal action appeared to be largely symbolic because the Supreme Court had already struck down the California law on free speech grounds. The Supreme Court said recently that it would hear a case in which the Trump administration is trying to allow a range of employers with religious or moral objections to opt out of the Affordable Care Act's requirement that most insurers provide free coverage of birth control.